They laughed when Earth's ambassador walked into the council chamber. 48 hours later, every alien armada in the galaxy was burning. The Council of Gathered Stars had stood for 11,000 years. 47 species, 100 billion souls, empires that stretched across spiral arms and through dimensions humans couldn't even perceive. The Vorothi could manipulate gravity with their minds. The Krell had turned warfare into an exact science, their victories calculated before the first shot was ever fired. The eldest, beings of pure energy who'd watched galaxies form, spoke in frequencies that could shatter moons. And then there was Earth. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center of the Grand Chamber, a human woman in a simple gray suit, surrounded by beings that could level planets. The holographic projectors made her look small, deliberately small. The council enjoyed their theater. High Chancellor Morvith, a towering Vorothi whose crystalline exoskeleton refracted the light of 1,000 stars, leaned forward on his gravity throne. Ambassador Chen, his voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. Earth requests, what was it again? He glanced at his adjutant, feigning forgetfulness. Laughter rippled through the assembled delegates, sounds that ranged from clicking mandibles to harmonic resonances that humans couldn't quite hear. Sarah's jaw tightened, but her voice remained steady. Protected status under the Mutual Defense Pact. Article 7, Section. Yes. Morvith waved a crystalline appendage dismissively. You want us to defend your little world. Tell me, Ambassador, what exactly does Earth contribute to this council? Your species has been spacefaring for what, 200 of your years? We have archives older than your entire civilization. We contribute innovation, Chancellor. Adaptability. We've solved problems in 6 months that some species spent centuries. Innovation. The word dripped with contempt. You've barely mastered fusion. Your largest vessel couldn't withstand a single volley from a Krell scout ship. Your population still fights wars over resources we consider trash. He stood, his full height casting Sarah in shadow. No, Ambassador Chen. Earth will not receive council protection. You will, however, continue to pay tribute under the Colonial Development Program. Consider it an investment in your future. The chamber erupted in approval. The Krell delegation clicked in unified satisfaction. The eldest shimmered with what might have been amusement. Sarah stood perfectly still. That is your final word, Chancellor. Is the Council's word human, which amounts to the same thing? She reached into her jacket. Every weapon system in the chamber targeted her instantly. Plasma cannons, quantum disruptors, biological agents that could turn her to ash before she could blink. She pulled out a small data chip and placed it on the holographic interface. Then I am instructed by the United Earth government to deliver this message. As of this moment, Earth formally withdraws from every treaty, compact, trade agreement, and diplomatic recognition established with the Council of Gathered Stars. All Council vessels are ordered to leave Earth space within 6 hours. All Council facilities on Earth soil will be seized. All Council representatives have 12 hours to evacuate. Silence, then laughter. Genuine, roaring laughter. You're withdrawing. Morvith's entire body shook with mirth. Tell me, Ambassador, what you think happens to species who defy the Council? Where will you go? Who will trade with you? Who will defend you when the Karzon come hunting? Sarah's face remained carved from stone. We'll manage. You'll manage. Morvith leaned down until his face was inches from hers. Child, within a year, your world will be begging, to be readmitted under any terms we offer. If we're feeling merciful, we might accept your surrender. If we're not. He straightened. Well, the galaxy is a dangerous place for the weak and stupid. Sarah picked up the data chip. 6 hours, Chancellor. I suggest you start making calls. She turned and walked out. Behind her, the laughter of species that had never known defeat echoed through the chamber like thunder. The Krell made the first move. They always did. The Krell didn't do uncertainty. They calculated, they analyzed, they struck with the efficiency of machines because they basically were machines, cybernetic beings who'd uploaded their consciousness millennia ago and forgotten what flesh even felt like. Fleet Commander Zareth studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Earth hung in the center of the hologram like a ripe fruit. One inhabited planet. No significant orbital defenses. Their moon base housed maybe 15,000 personnel. Military vessels? A joke. 40 destroyers, 8 cruisers, 2 carriers. His single battle group outmassed the entire Earth fleet. Analysis complete. his tactical AI reported. Estimated resistance minimal. Probability of successful occupation 99.7%. And the 0.3%. Zareth asked, more out of protocol than concern. Statistical noise. There's always noise. Zareth allowed himself what his organic ancestors would have called a smile. The council had authorized a demonstration of consequences. Nothing genocidal. The council frowned on that these days, but enough to break Earth's spirit. Orbital bombardment of military installations. Seizure of the lunar base. Maybe vaporize a city or two if they got uppity. Humans needed to learn their place. His fleet of 47 warships entered the Sol system with weapons charged and targeting solutions locked. They'd made it as far as Jupiter when everything went to hell. The Krell fleet's sensors went dark. Every system, visual, thermal, quantum, temporal, just stopped. For exactly 4.7 seconds, the most advanced military vessels in known space were blind. When the sensors came back online, there were ships everywhere. Hundreds of them. No thousands. Zareth's tactical AI started screaming alerts before his organic brain could process what he was seeing. Ships appeared from nowhere, behind asteroids, from within Jupiter's radiation belts, from stealth positions that should have been impossible to maintain. But these weren't the destroyers and cruisers on Earth's registry. These were something else entirely. Configuration unknown, his AI reported, and Zareth felt something he hadn't experienced in 3 centuries: fear. The AI never said unknown. The human vessels were angular, aggressive, covered in what looked like ablative armor, but with energy signatures that suggested something far more exotic. They were bristling with weapons, missile pods, railguns, energy weapons that made his sensors flinch, and something else. Something his scanners couldn't identify. A transmission cut through his comm systems like they weren't even encrypted. Krell vessels, this is Admiral Marcus Reeves of the United Earth Defense Fleet. The human's voice was calm, conversational. You've entered Sol space with weapons active and hostile intent. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. If you comply, you will be detained and eventually returned to Council space. If you don't... Zareth found his voice. You dare threaten the Krell ascendancy? We number 47 capital ships. You're outgunned, outmatched, and... 20 seconds. We have authorization from the Council to... 10 seconds. I should mention, Commander, that you're currently painted by 743 weapons platforms. Each one is locked on a different critical system of your ships. We've been watching you since you entered the Kuiper Belt. We know where your reactors are, where your crew modules are, where you keep your morning coffee. Figuratively speaking. You're bluffing. Our shields can. 5 seconds. Also, quick question. How long can your ships function without quantum communications? Because we're about to find out. Zareth's tactical display exploded with warnings. Every single Krell vessel was being targeted by multiple human ships, but more than that, something was happening to their quantum communicators. The exotic particles that allowed instant fleet coordination were being disrupted, jammed. That wasn't possible. You couldn't jam quantum entanglement. It violated the fundamental. The human ships fired, but not with conventional weapons. Zareth watched in horror as his fleet shields that could shrug off nuclear weapons like raindrops, simply dissolved. The human ships had fired some kind of harmonic pulse that didn't destroy the shields so much as unmake them at a quantum level. Then the rail guns opened up. Krell's ships had armor measured in meters of metamaterial. Zareth watched that armor crack like eggshells as tungsten penetrators moving at 3% light speed punched through it like tissue paper. All ships evasive maneuvers. Return fire. Return. His weapon systems wouldn't respond. None of them. The targeting algorithms were frozen, stuck in endless calculation loops. Somehow, the humans had uploaded a virus into systems that shouldn't have been accessible from outside the ship. In 17 seconds, the most powerful Krell battle group in the sector was reduced to floating scrap. Now then, Admiral Reeves' voice returned, as calm as before. Would you like to discuss surrender? Or should we move on to the capital ships? I've got munitions to spare. Zareth stared at his shattered fleet, at the human vessels that circled like sharks that had tasted blood. Ow, he whispered. How did you? Commander, we've been preparing for this conversation for 200 years. Every time the Council dismissed us, every time they laughed at our primitive technology, we were listening, learning, planning. Did you think we'd just roll over? The Council will. The Council? And now there was iron in the human's voice. Should have thought about that before they humiliated our ambassador. Power down your weapons. Now. One by one, the Krell ships went dark. The hollow communication reached the council chambers 37 minutes later. High Chancellor Morvith watched the footage in silence. The assembled delegates, species that had waged war across millennia, that had toppled empires and reshaped reality itself, watched the destruction of 47 Krell capital ships with something approaching disbelief. "It's a trick," someone whispered. "Computer generation. Propaganda." But the quantum signatures were real. The debris was real. The distress calls from the Krell Ascendancy were very, very real. A new transmission arrived. Ambassador Sarah Chen's face appeared in the hologram, but she wasn't standing in some government office. She was on the bridge of a warship, surrounded by tactical displays and crew members moving with military precision. Chancellor Morvith, delegates of the council. Her voice held no triumph, no anger, just cold, hard fact. 17 hours ago, you rejected Earth's request for protected status. You implied we were weak, primitive, unworthy of your attention. Behind her, a tactical display showed the Sol system, and the 1,000+ warships orbiting Earth like a steel constellation. You were wrong. The display shifted. Shipyards in orbit around Mars, around the moons of Jupiter, hidden in the asteroid belt. Facilities that shouldn't exist, building ships that shouldn't be possible. For 2 centuries, Earth has been preparing. While you dismissed us, we built. While you laughed at our primitive fusion, we mastered quantum manipulation. While you assumed we were harmless, we studied every species in the Council. Your technologies, your tactics, your weaknesses. Another shift. Archives, stolen data, Council secrets that should have been impossible to access. We know how Varothi shields work. We know the Krell's quantum communication protocols. We know the Eldest's energy patterns. We know everything, Chancellor, because you never thought to guard your secrets from something as insignificant as humanity. Morvith found his voice, though it trembled with something between rage and fear. You've declared war on the Council of Gathered Stars. Do you have any concept of what you've done? We will mobilize every fleet, every weapon, every... You'll do nothing, Sarah cut him off. Because 36 minutes ago, the Karzon Dominion received a very interesting data package. Everything we learned about Council military capabilities, fleet positions, defense protocols, command structures. She leaned forward. You want to fight us, Chancellor? Go ahead. But while you're committing ships to Sol, the Karzon will be burning through your borders like they've dreamed of for the last 1,000 years. The chamber erupted in chaos. You gave weapons to the Karzon. That's a violation of every. You've doomed us all. Sarah waited for the noise to die down. We've given them information. What they do with it is their choice. Of course, we also sent the same package to the Zarn Coalition, the Free Planets Alliance, and about 6 other groups that you've been oppressing for centuries. She smiled, and it was the smile of someone holding all the cards. Turns out a lot of civilizations don't like you very much, Chancellor. Who knew? What do you want? Morvith's voice was barely a whisper. What we wanted 17 hours ago. Protected status. Full membership in the Council. And your personal apology to every human being you implied was primitive. You're insane. The Council will never. Then the Karzon get more information. We've been holding back the really interesting stuff, like the location of the Varothi homeworld's orbital defense grid vulnerabilities, or the Krell Ascendancy's central processing nexus. Or... Enough. Sarah waited. You would blackmail the entire Council. Blackmail is such an ugly word, Chancellor. I prefer aggressive negotiation. The terms are simple. Earth becomes a full member of the Council with all associated protections and voting rights. The tribute system is abolished. All Council species are prohibited from any hostile action against Earth for a period of 100 standard years. And you, personally, will issue a public statement acknowledging that humanity deserves a place at the table. And if we refuse, then we release everything we have to your enemies and watch the Council tear itself apart. Either way, Earth wins. We either get a seat at the table, or we get to watch the table burn. Your choice, Chancellor. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, High Chancellor Morvith looked around at the delegates, at species that commanded power beyond imagination, that had ruled the galaxy for millennia, and realized that they'd just been outplayed by a species they considered beneath their notice. Contact the human ambassador, he said quietly. Arrange a meeting. Full diplomatic protocols. You're going to give them what they want. Morvith looked at the tactical display, still showing Earth's impossible fleet. At the reports already coming in of Karzon fleets mobilizing. At the House of Cards that was beginning to collapse. No, he said, I'm going to give them what they earned. 3 days later, Ambassador Sarah Chen walked into the council chambers again. This time, no one was laughing. Every delegate stood as she entered. The Varothi lowered their crystalline heads. The Krell powered down their combat protocols in a gesture of respect. Even the eldest dimmed their luminosity, the energy being's equivalent of a bow. High Chancellor Morvith descended from his gravity throne and met her on the chamber floor. For the first time in 11,000 years, a council chancellor stood at equal height with a supplicant species. Ambassador Chen, he began, and his voice carried across the chamber. The Council of Gathered Stars formally apologizes for the disrespect shown to your people. We acknowledge humanity's right to full membership and all associated protections. The Colonial Development Program is hereby abolished. Earth is recognized as a sovereign power with full voting rights. Sarah nodded slowly. Accepted. I do have one question if you'll permit it. Of course. How? Morvith's voice held genuine curiosity now, the anger and humiliation giving way to something like respect. How did you build all of this without us noticing? The shipyards, the weapons, the intelligence networks, we should have seen it. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Chancellor, do you know what humanity's greatest strength is? Not intelligence, the Krell are smarter. Not technology, the Varothi have more advanced systems. Not combat prowess, plenty of species can outfight us one-on-one. Then what? We're paranoid as hell. A confused murmur ran through the chamber. Sarah's smile widened. For 200 years, we've been out here among species that could wipe us out with a thought. We've been the weak ones, the primitive ones, the ones everyone dismisses. Do you know what that does to a species? It makes you careful. It makes you watchful. It makes you prepare for the day when being nice and playing by the rules isn't enough. She gestured, and a hologram appeared. Earth, as seen from space. We built the shipyards inside asteroids. Hollowed them out, turned them into factories. You were looking for orbital construction, so we made sure you never saw it. We developed quantum manipulation by studying Krell wreckage from ancient wars. Did you know there's a Krell debris field in the Kuiper Belt from a battle 9,000 years ago? We did. We spent decades picking through it. The hologram shifted to show human ships. Our weapons are reverse-engineered from every council species that ever crashed, died, or left garbage in Sol system. We've had 2 centuries to study your technology while you assumed we were too primitive to understand it. And our intelligence network. She laughed. Chancellor, humanity has been sending diplomats, traders, students, and tourists into council space for 200 years. Thousands of humans, all carefully watching, learning, gathering information. You never noticed because you never thought we were worth noticing. Morvith was silent for a long moment. You've been planning this from the beginning, since first contact. Not this specifically, but we've been planning for the day when nice words and polite requests wouldn't be enough, when we'd need leverage. Her expression hardened. You called us primitive, Chancellor. Maybe you're right. Maybe we don't have your elegant technology or your ancient wisdom. But we have something you've forgotten. We remember what it's like to be prey. And prey that survives learns to bite back. The Karzon, another delegate spoke up, the information you gave them is very real, yes. But we also gave them a virus wrapped in that data. If they try to use it against the Council, their entire fleet network crashes. We're paranoid, but we're not stupid. We don't want the galaxy to burn, Chancellor. We just want a seat at the table where the burning gets decided. The eldest spoke then, their voice a chorus of harmonic frequencies. You would have destroyed the Council to save yourselves. No, Sarah corrected. We would have destroyed the Council to protect ourselves. There's a difference. You want to know humanity's real strength? We survive. We adapt. We find a way. And if the only way to survive is to tear down the system trying to crush us. She met the eldest's shimmering gaze. Then that's what we'll do. Silence filled the chamber. Then, slowly, Morvith began to laugh. Not the dismissive mockery from before, but genuine, appreciative laughter. We are fools, he said to the assembled delegates. Absolute fools. We looked at humanity and saw primitive apes playing with fire. We should have seen survivors. Fighters. Species that don't give up. He turned back to Sarah. Welcome to the Council, Ambassador Chen. I suspect things are about to get very interesting. Sarah extended her hand, a human gesture. After a moment's hesitation, Morvith grasped it with his crystalline appendage. One more thing, Chancellor. Yes. That data we gave the Karzan, it was the tip of the iceberg. We have information on every Council species, strengths, weaknesses, secrets you thought were buried. Not as a threat, she added quickly, seeing his expression. As insurance. If any Council species ever tries what you tried, we'll make sure the rest of the galaxy knows about it. Transparency, Chancellor. It's going to be our gift to the Council. You're going to force us to be honest. We're going to encourage transparency and accountability. Consider it Earth's first official contribution to Council policy. She smiled sweetly. You did want to know what we could contribute, didn't you? Morvith looked at this human woman who had outplayed the entire Council with nothing but careful planning and sheer audacity. I think, he said slowly, we should have listened to you the first time. Yes, Sarah agreed. You really should have. 6 months later, Admiral Marcus Reeves stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching as the first Joint Council Earth Patrol departed from lunar orbit. Humanity's ships flew alongside Vorothy cruisers and Krell battleships, former enemies, now reluctant allies. It wasn't trust, not yet, but was a start. Admiral, his communications officer spoke up, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Put it through. Ambassador Chen's face appeared. Admiral Reeves, how's the integration going? Slowly, ma'am. The Krell still think our tactics are reckless, the Vorothy think our ships are ugly, and everyone thinks our food is terrible. But they're flying with us. They're flying with us, he confirmed. Good, because the Council just received word that the Karzan are mobilizing. Despite our virus, they've adapted faster than expected. They're pushing into Council space. Reeves felt his jaw tighten. How long? 3 weeks, maybe less. The Council is requesting Earth's assistance. They're asking us to help defend them. After everything they... Yes. Sarah's voice was firm. And we're going to help. Not because they deserve it, but because that's what we told them we'd do. Humanity keeps its word, Admiral. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Reeves nodded slowly. Understood, ma'am. We'll be ready. I know you will. One more thing, Marcus. Ma'am. The Chancellor asked me yesterday why humanity fought so hard for a seat on the Council. Why we went to such extremes just to be accepted. She smiled. I told him the truth. We didn't do it to be accepted. We did it because the alternative was watching from the sidelines while someone else decided our fate. Humanity doesn't do sidelines, Admiral. We're in the game now, and we're not leaving. Damn right, ma'am. The transmission ended. Reeves looked out at the fleet, human ships and alien vessels flying together against a common enemy. It wasn't perfect. It probably never would be. But for the first time in human history, they weren't fighting alone. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Never mistake quiet for weakness. Never mistake patience for submission. And never, ever underestimate what humans will do when you back them into a corner. Because humanity doesn't just survive. Humanity wins. They thought we were primitives playing at civilization. They learned we were survivors who'd simply been planning our next move. Humanity doesn't ask for respect. We earn it, and we never forget.